Greetings to our listeners. Today we will talk about America's oldest serial killer couple. Please click the subscribe button for more content like this. The crimes committed by Ray and Faye Copeland teach us that appearance is deceptive. The people we assume to have quiet and ordinary lives can be monsters. When we see an old couple looking at each other with love and care, we don't think of their monstrous murders. Before telling about their crimes, let's delve into Ray Copeland's childhood to have a better understanding of his crimes. Ray Copeland was born in Oklahoma in 1914. As he grew up, his family was going through the economic crisis prevalent in the United States back in those years. The economic crisis had destroyed the economy of the industrialized city. Unemployment and homelessness skyrocketed. After the economic crisis caused by the World War, 50 million people worldwide had become unemployed. Ray and his family were among those people. They were making ends meet. Young Ray was involved in theft, forgery, and animal theft. He was sentenced to a year in prison for these crimes. He was released in 1940. After his release from prison, Ray met Faye, who would become his partner in crime. The two soon got married. After a while, they had several children. It was very difficult for Ray to find a job because of his criminal record. The family constantly had to move. Every time they moved to a new location, Ray's criminal record would resurface, forcing the couple to move again. Ray was not wary of committing crimes when the family needed money. He was good at this. He was constantly getting arrested and did several stints in jail. After leaving prison, he would turn to a new method of fraud. It was getting hard for him to be employed. He was interested in buying and selling cattle, but he was prohibited from doing so because of his criminal record. He was writing fraudulent checks, selling the cattle to unaware people, and leaving the town. After a short while, Ray was jailed for this crime. After his release, he decided to improve his crime techniques. Those who reported him to the police were usually the people deceived by him. In order for his plans to work, he wanted to get rid of them. His crimes became violent after his release from prison. Ray Copeland was suspected again in 1989 when police received a tip that a human skull and bones were found on the farmland owned by the couple. Ray had a criminal record involving livestock scam, but he had never been involved in a violent crime before. The authorities were a bit skeptical about the incident at first. They would later carry out a detailed investigation. In 1989, the police went to investigate the couple's farmland. They were aware that something terrible was going on there. They came to the farm with the police dogs in order to carry out a large-scale investigation. The farm was not very big. It consisted of a barn and a house in a small plot of land. Ray told police that they would not find anything illegal. The farm was very clean. There did not seem to be anything suspicious. After a detailed search, the terrible things started to emerge one by one. The lifeless bodies of 3 young men were found in the barn. When the search continued, 2 more were revealed. All of them were killed with the same gun. This gun was later found inside the house. A motive behind these murders was money. The couple had killed the people they used as intermediaries to defraud money. And since most of the victims were homeless, they were not even reported missing. Some parts of the barn were excavated with the guidance of police dogs. Various human bones were found on the ground. When this house was examined, clothes belonging to the victims, as well as an accounting book with their names in them, were found. There were 12 names in the book. 12 of the names, including the 5 victims found, had a crude X in Faye's handwriting, marked next to each name. It's unknown who the other 7 people were. The victims also included people who worked in the couple's farm. Some of them had stayed at their house. None of them had suspected that the decent-looking couple were murderers. Ray informed the police about the dates of the murders. They killed their first victim on October 17, 1986. Ray was 72 years old when he committed his first murder. Faye was 65. After their arrest, the couple was sent to the court. Faye had a hand in these murders. The husband and wife were tried separately. Faye's trial took place in November 1990. She was 68 years old at the time. She claimed that she was a victim, that she was forced to help her husband while committing the murders. Jury found her guilty. The husband and wife were being tried for 5 murders, although the investigators suspected that the number of victims was 12 people. Before we disclose the court sentence, let's look at Ray's trial. Ray Copeland's trial started in March 1991. He was being tried for 5 murders. He was found guilty of 5 of them. Ray was cold and emotionless during the trial. He was 76 years old at the time. Ray and Faye were both sentenced to death by lethal injection. After the sentence was announced, Ray allegedly said, "Well, those things happen to some, you know." The couple became the oldest people to be sentenced to death in the United States, as well as the oldest serial killer couple. After his imprisonment, Ray died of natural causes on October 19, 1993. Nearly 2 years after being imprisoned, his body was cremated. Faye's lawyers continued to apply for parole, claiming that she was Ray's victim. The jury did not excuse her murderous actions. On August 6, 1999, his death sentence was commuted to life in prison. She had a stroke a year later. Part of her body was paralyzed. She lost the ability to speak. A few weeks later, Faye was granted parole due to her illness. Her last wish was not to die in prison. This request was granted, and she was released to a nursing home. About a year later, on December 23, Faye died in the nursing home. She was 82 years old when she died. She had 5 children and 17 grandchildren. We couldn't find any information about her funeral. 12 people are believed to have been killed in the couple's farmland. This murderous couple killed the young people who came to them to work and shelter. They left behind a terrible legacy.